So today I'll be talking about ball pythons. Ball pythons are some of the most popular pets in the pet trade today, and there's a good reason why. These are beautiful animals that are usually extremely affordable and very handleable. I currently have 3 ball pythons. Here's Steve. He's a normal ball python. He is very handleable. He's very chill. He spends most of his time staying warm under his hide. Bucky, who is Steve's brother, also spends a lot of time under his hide while laying above the heat mat. Clarence spends a lot of time under this hide and above the heat, but also loves to hang from this ladder. All of these snakes are extremely handleable and have never tried to bite me. Ball pythons make great first snakes, and there's really only one negative I can think of about these snakes, which I'll talk about later. Humidity for these snakes should be around 50 to 60% at least. They do require a little bit more humidity than something such as a king snake or a corn snake. As with everything else, a digital humidity gauge is probably best to have in your tank. If you want to, you can buy one of these spray bottles. They're pretty cheap. You can get them at Walmart or online. You can fill it up with water and spray your tank down about once a day or as needed. It does get pretty dry where I live, so during the winter especially, I like to spray down my tanks at least once a day. One other thing you can do for your snake is add a humidity box. You can do this by taking a small container such as this one, cut a hole in it, add some damp moss, and then voila, you have a humidity box. If your snake gets dry for some reason, it can crawl into this humidity box and rehydrate itself. For substrate, I like to use a mix of eco earth and forest floor. This combination seems to retain moisture better than aspen or other dry substrates. Ball pythons seem to rarely burrow like a corn snake, so typically a deep layer of substrate isn't needed. You'll want to get a water bowl that is big enough for your snake to completely submerge itself into if it wants to. One thing to remember is that if you do use tap water for your snake's water, you want to use some kind of water conditioner so that the water is safe for your snake to drink. Ball pythons don't really seem to bask much, so you can typically get by with just using a heat mat hooked up to a thermostat. You can purchase a heat mat that is appropriate for the size of the tank that you have online, usually on Amazon. The important thing is to make sure that you buy a thermostat. Plug the thermostat into the wall, plug the heat mat into the thermostat, and place the probe either inside the tank with some tape or silicone, or below the tank between the heat mat and glass. Never place the heat mat inside the tank. You can buy a temperature gun online or at Walmart. I highly recommend these. They're usually only around $20 and they work great. For the temperature inside your tank, on the cool side, around room temp is fine. For the warm side, you want to have a spot of around 90 degrees. Always make sure you place your heat source on one side of the tank so that your snake has a good heat gradient and can decide whether it wants to be warm or cool. I started my baby ball pythons out in a 40-gallon tank, but as they get bigger, you'll definitely want to consider at least going up to a 75-gallon. This is one of those many things that is debated on quite a bit within the community. Ball pythons do seem to be semi-arboreal, so it's not a bad idea to give your snake some kind of a branch or other enrichment to climb on. Many people start feeding ball pythons a prey item around the size of a hopper mouse to start out. There are many good charts online that show you what you should be feeding these snakes and how often you should be feeding them. Now, when it comes to actually eating, that's when these snakes can start to become kind of a pain. Some ball pythons will eat every meal, while other ball pythons might skip several months. One of the reasons why your new baby ball python may not be eating is because they're not comfortable in their new environment. Give it some time and your new ball python should get used to its new environment and it should be eating before long. You want to make sure you have at least one hide on each side of the tank. This not only gives them the option to be on the hot side or the cool side while being under cover, but it also makes them feel more safe and secure and might help with the feeding. Ball pythons have pit organs around their head that can sense the infrared radiation of heat from their surroundings. So if you heat up the mouse or whatever you're feeding the snake, it might sense it a little bit better and actually eat. Now this can kind of cause some anxiety with first-time snake owners, so it's something you'll definitely want to consider when deciding what kind of snake you want to actually purchase. Cleaning for these ball pythons is pretty simple. You can spot clean here and there, definitely at least once a week. But when you change the substrate, I would definitely recommend completely dumping all the substrate, soaking the tank with some kind of a cleaner, rinsing it out, drying it out, making sure it's completely aired out, and then replacing it with new substrate. Ball pythons leave poop that's a little different than corn snakes and king snakes. Generally, it comes out as a solid log. I know that sounds gross, but with corn snakes and king snakes, it can be anything random. Colubrid poop is very similar to something like bird poop. Ball pythons really don't musk like a king snake or a corn snake might. Usually their defense mechanism is to just ball up, hence the name ball python. They're really not bitey at all. They're not defensive when it comes to biting or striking at you. They don't musk. They're just really handleable, and they're really great pets to have. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Here's some footage of my dog Atlas, and see you next time.